In Africa, the battle to save the rhino from what seems to be certain extinction is at an all-time high. I recently joined forces with Joe and Willem Peterson from Nkombe Rhino. Over a span of 10 days, the team, made up of vets, pilots, researchers and park staff, dehorned almost 100 rhinos in Klaserie Private Nature Reserve. This is no small task and requires skill, determination and most importantly, funding. A helicopter piloted by none other than Jerry McDonald and a fixed-wing plane will search for the rhinos. Once spotted, information gets relayed to the ground crew who then move into the area. In the chopper is legendary wildlife vet Dr. Peter Rogers. He's one of the world's most respected wildlife vets and brings incredible value to this operation. From this vantage point, they can move in closer to the rhino, accurately get the dart in, and move out quickly. Jerry's job is then not yet done. He has the challenging task of keeping the rhino within the proximity of the road so that the crew can get quick and easy access. He has to do this relying on incredible flying skills, yet with minimal stress to the rhino itself. Once the crew moves in to get closer to the rhino, it's time for the second phase of the operation. The animal can now feel the effect of the drugs kicking in, as can be seen by his movements. At this point, only the lead vet will be close to the rhino. It's important to get to the animal and to ensure that it goes down in a safe position. It's dangerous getting this close to such an enormous animal, but it's an important part of the process itself. Now, it's time for maverick wildlife vet Joe Alves to step in. Joel is based in Hoedspruit and is a dynamic, experienced and popular person within the conservation and wildlife industry. Joel will talk us through every step of the process once the rhino is down on the ground.
Okay, bring her now.
1, 2, 3.
Well done. Okay, someone can just lean. Kimban, just sit staan hierso. We've given the partial antidote. The white rhino really don't handle the opioids well, so just a partial antidote to stabilize them physiologically. Josh is going to pop some oxygen in the front there. We've got a catheter in the ear vein, and that's just to make sure that we've got access to the cardiovascular system should anything happen and there's an emergency. We need to wake him up as quickly as possible. And then we just treat the dart site. Just with an antibiotic treatment, you're taking a lot of dirt and grime, pulling it in with the skin as that dart hits and penetrates. So we just pull it out. Just going to wait for the guys to take their measurements, all the data that needs to be collected, microchips and all of that. And then as soon as they've done that, then we'll mark the horns and we'll just start cutting over. Did you pick up any chips?
One chip.
Neck chip? Okay. Yeah, because this actually looks like a youngster from maybe 2 years ago. Because it looks like there is some regrowth. Okay, this thing. Have you done your measurements?
Do you want to help me measure?
So yeah, we'll just use some chalk just to mark the horn as soon as they're done here. So this is all just data collection, data measurements, so that when we re-dehorn this animal somewhere down in the future, we can actually see, what's the regrowth, what are the original measurements. We estimate the age, body size, and it's just collect as much data as possible while we're out here, while we've immobilized them. Take the full opportunity rather than just dehorn them. So, what's the only negative thing about where we are now? Hey, I'm sorry, Tiffany. Yeah, so that's, it's not a massive downhill, but it's a little bit, and it's just something to be cognizant of. So then that'll just all the abdominal contents, you know, especially if you're dealing with a pregnant cow, there's a big fetus in there as well. If you down yield, then gravity is just going to push on that diaphragm and they're not going to breathe as well. So you always got to just be really cognizant of the positioning as well. Alrighty. So then the back horn, we can go quite low and close to the skull essentially, or to the base. And then the front horn, we use 4 fingers as an estimate. And we just mark it, and it's just as a guide for the chainsaw. It just makes it a bit easier. And I like to start quite high up and then rather cut down from it. And that's just to avoid the growth plate and blood vasculature and nerve tissue that comes towards the middle, and the horn sort of grows from. Can I throw you the chalk there? Okay. Can you pass me earmuffs? Sure.
Why do you take the top bird off?
Sorry, say again?
Why do you take the first piece off like that?
So it's just a square cut. That's where we want to just estimate the height, and then we'll start going lower and lower, but going, because the blood vasculature runs more in the middle, it sort of tapers to a point. So we try and then cut around and leave the highest point as the center of your horn essentially. So it's easier to just take it off, and then you'll see I'll cut square cuts all around and then try and work my way down and down, just constantly checking that we don't hit here. Oh, Eugene. This is your point here, so then just try and work your way around it nicely there, and then you can come quite flat here on the back one. So yeah, now we're just going to grind down the last bit, and that's just to reduce as much horn tissue as possible, so that we leave as little behind. You know, if we're going to knock them down, then we have to take as much off as possible, so we don't have to do this in another 6 or 8 months. We can look 16, 18, 24 months down the line. And it just works too, if you grind nicely and you round it off, you can create the impression that you've actually taken off more than you in fact have. So anyone looking at it, it looks like there's a lot of that horn off. So yeah, he'll just grind that down as much as possible. That back horn almost flat to the skull there, and then yeah, and we'll just put a little bit of hoof oil on afterwards, and that's it. Then we're done. Yeah, so we'll do the antidote, and then I'll show you the antidote reversal, and we'll just give it intravenously, and within 90 seconds usually then they're up and about. That's the beauty of this immobilization with the opioids, is that it's almost fully reversible. So we can knock them down, but we can have them up just as quickly pretty much, which is a nice thing. Rocks. Billy, you got the radio? Just tell them we like 3 minutes from wake up here. 4 minutes from wake up. Do we need more 15? Oh no, we don't. They're still here.
I put a new 15 in, well, because there's just one.
Yeah, that's fine. So they're just measuring the height, so how much we've taken off, and that's once again, that'll just go in with all the data essentially that we're collecting. So once we knock this animal down in the future, we can look at the time frame between when we dehorned it, when we're doing it again, and then take, based on how much we've taken off, look at the growth rate and that of the horn. And just getting an average of how much we can actually take down to the growth plate, because now we know that we've just nicked it there, so that's your absolute limit. So whatever Zala's measurement is now, we know, generally on an animal of this age, that's, on average, obviously over a period of time, we can figure out that's where we can actually cut to. Pop him here, Joshy. And then we just clean the eyes just because of all this fine dust from the grinder. Can you catch both? Oh, yes. Nailed it.
The oxygen out.
Yeah, I took the oxygen out. Yeah, I took it out. So it's all veins on the back of the ear essentially, and the arteries sit on the inside. So then we can use a catheter here, but we can just go straight into one of these veins and then we can administer the reversal. So you'll see we draw back, make sure we're in. Blood's quite an okay color. Generally, the darker it is, then you know that they're not oxygenating very well. Eugene, you can take this vehicle forward. Oh shit, actually we must do it quite quickly, because Billy also needs to reverse and go forward.
This video may have stirred up all sorts of emotions, from anger to disappointment, guilt to frustration. You might be asking, surely there's another way. Surely they can keep their horns and we can do more to protect them. How can it be that we need to go to such measures to save such an iconic animal? This is, after all, the mighty rhino.
It's hard to say, but I'm not what you need. I'll only break you like you break me.
The reality is that we are trying. It's just not enough. The network of involvement runs too deep. Oftentimes, it's the very people who work as guardians to these rhinos who sell them out. Blood money. I take my hat off to Nkombe Rhino and others who are doing all they can for these magnificent animals. Is it too late? The tipping point has not yet been reached. It's not too far off. We, and I mean we all, need to do more for our rhinos.
But I'm not what you